This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. A violent kidnapping in the capital is caught on camera. There seems to be arrests, and more arrests as crime overloads our crime desk. And we have yet more tragic news on those endangered dolphins. But first, to our headline story. A man was kidnapped in the car park of his apartment complex by a gang of 5 Chinese men. Remarkably, the whole incident was caught on security cameras, and we at the Khmer Times have sourced that footage for you. Cameras that were plain to see by anyone who cared to look, which leads us to our first question. Why did the gang not attempt to immobilize these cameras? Was it arrogance and a belief in their own invincibility that they cared not if the crime was caught on film? Or maybe they had tunnel vision, a vision only for the $10 million ransom they hoped to gain by committing such an audacious criminal act in public. The kidnapping took place on Street 163 in Phnom Penh at approximately 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and the audacity, or should that be stupidity, of the gang is quite simply breathtaking, as they blatantly executed their crime in front of high-definition security cameras with absolutely no regard for their presence. And seeing as the culprits could clearly be identified, it would take little work for the police to then refer to other security cameras from neighbouring properties to gain a complete picture as to not only who was involved, but what vehicle was used to cart their victim off. And it was this valuable information that was used to successfully track the criminals and to save the kidnapped man. In this next brief video, you will see the police storm the kidnappers' lair in Phnom Penh. In that video shared by Fresh News, we clearly see armed police storming the luxury villa of those Chinese nationals. It seems after the thugs kidnapped the man, they took him to that very villa, where he was bound and tortured. Whilst they were doing that, the kidnappers contacted the relatives of the victim, and they tried to extort a ransom of $10 million. At the end of it all, the police had arrested 7 suspects in total, and the victim, although liberated, had been severely tortured by those suspects, and he had to be rushed to hospital for emergency treatment. As for the criminals, well, they now have to stand in front of Phnom Penh's municipal court and answer for their crimes. This week, maybe due to the excessive heat, there seems to be a spike in crime. So now it's time to look at our crime desk for an extended look at all things criminal. Firstly, we start with the bizarre, as a man has been arrested for killing a monk, claiming that monk was using witchcraft against him. The brutal slaying of the elderly abbot took place in Kampong Speu. The attacker was a 31-year-old man, and he had used a wooden stick to beat the 68-year-old monk violently. The beating was in fact so severe that the monk died during the assault. The suspect was soon arrested and brought in for questioning. It was then that he confessed that he had beat the victim to death because he was angry for he believed that the monk had cast a spell on him, and it was his unbreakable belief that the black magic spell was the cause for all his misfortunes and woes. Okay, I have done well over 100 news shows, and within I have covered literally hundreds and thousands of stories, but this is the most vile story I've ever reported on. A father has been arrested for the rape of his 4-year-old daughter. The arrest occurred in Phnom Penh and has caused widespread outrage. The police arrested the man earlier this week for aggravated rape related to the 4-year-old minor. The suspect was named as Yo Kasal, a 25-year-old male. The arrest happened after the girl's mother reported to the authorities that the suspect had assaulted the child, and the police were very quick to act. During the interrogation, the suspect confessed to the authorities that he had in fact raped his own infant daughter. He now awaits charges and a trial date. Next, we have another most unusual case, and it may well be unique in the annals of crime history here in Cambodia. For yet another man was beaten to death, but this time with a broomstick of all things. And 2 men have been arrested in Phnom Penh of charges of beating the foreigner to death and then dumping his body in a sewer. And it is here this tale takes another odd turn, as the death had previously been recorded as a suicide, but only now has been upgraded to murder most foul. Police arrested the 2 men and charged them with the murder of a 35-year-old Chinese man. And the death, originally noted as a suicide, was changed when a witness came forward with additional information. And it seems that the victim had argued with the assailants, and when violent words turned into violent action, the man was savagely beaten and his body dumped. But as to how a badly beaten body could have been initially misidentified as a suicide could be the biggest mystery of this entire affair. For to beat a man to death takes an awful lot of work, and how anyone could look at the body and determine it was suicide is indeed very puzzling. Next on our bumper crime desk update, we have the case of a policeman who shot a cockfighter and is being charged with aggravated violence. The police inspector shot and seriously injured a fleeing cockfight spectator. The incident occurred when a Lieutenant Banal was on patrol during Khmer New Year, along with 3 other officers. During this patrol, they received information about an illegal cockfight in a nearby village. The policeman went to investigate and arrived at the cockpit where the cockfights were being held, and it was on their arrival that one man was believed to be fleeing the scene on his motorcycle. And when Lieutenant Banal tried to apprehend this suspect, his pistol went off accidentally. The victim was shot at very close range in the stomach and is in a very serious condition, and he is in fact receiving emergency treatment in Vietnam to save his life. The officer himself faces 2 to 5 years in prison if convicted. Now let us finish off this segment on a more positive note, and that is one of bravery. A vicious Phnom Penh knife man was arrested after he attacked a remarkably brave 12-year-old boy. The 12-year-old, who has an unusually high level of morality, stepped in to stop the callous criminal from stealing mobile phones from his family shop. The knifeman was a 19-year-old and has now been arrested by district police officers after stabbing and seriously injuring the young boy. The thief himself thought he saw a good opportunity to steal 3 mobile phones. However, he did not count on our own dear mighty mouse, the brave 12-year-old, for he stepped in to stop the theft. And the thief tried all he could to throw him off, but the kid fought hard, and he wasn't stabbed just once, but was stabbed repeatedly. But he kept on fighting until his cries were heard, and local villagers then joined in the fight and beat the living crap out of the assailant, much to the delight of everyone involved. Here is something that may well indicate a shift in the wind that would bring a favourable climate to all of us who enjoy peace and quiet. And if they were asked, they would express a preference that they did not have music blaring all around them at all hours of the day for apparently no good reason. In Siem Reap, authorities are now actively warning noisy businesses that they will act to stop noise pollution. The provincial administration has warned owners of entertainment establishments that they could face being shut down if their businesses produce too much noise or are open too late into the night. They were forced to act after so many complaints from not only business owners but also residents about the level of noise produced by these establishments and how this noise pollution is ruining their lives and stopping them from having a good night's sleep. The Siem Reap Provincial Administration has warned owners of entertainment establishments that they could face being shut down if their businesses produce too much noise or are open too late. The warning came after many complaints from business owners and residents alike about the level of noise produced by these establishments. According to the warning issued by the administration this week, the measures aim not only to control the level of noise, but to also ensure security. The provincial governor said that discos, beer gardens and concerts can operate up to midnight. And what was also said is that quiet areas such as hospitals and educational institutions, the sound level will be set at 45 decibels from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m. But in residential areas, it's rather different, for the maximum volume is 60 decibels. But from 10 p.m. till 6 o'clock in the morning, the level can be as high as 45 decibels. Okay, so it's time to fess up. You're confused, aren't you? You have no idea what I'm talking about with decibels there, so allow me to help you. A normal conversation is 60 decibels, and a motorbike engine runs at approximately 95 decibels. So that 45 decibels until 6 a.m. is very manageable indeed. But there's a question that's flickering across your mind, and that is, I wonder, who is it that will be heading off into the direction of a wedding tent as the sun rises at the crack of dawn and asking those inside, "Is that 45 decibels I hear? It seems to be a trifle above the level of a normal conversation, and even above the 90 decibels of a motorcycle. In fact, we seem to be entering the audible realm of a jet fighter taking off." We at the Khmer Times have taken on a cause, and that is to highlight the plight of the dolphins of the Mekong, a species that is extremely endangered. Recently, there has been so many encouraging noises saying that help will be rendered to these rare dolphins that are dying off in front of our very eyes. There has been word of aid poor cards offered as incentives to fishermen. There has also been the introduction of 24-hour patrols. There has been buildings cleared, and even the sanctuary itself has been extended to protect this fragile beast. And all these words are positive and they do have meaning. But here's the facts. The only thing that counts here is results, nothing else. Only results count. And when a report came in this week that another dolphin had died, this time a baby, and it had been killed by illegal netting, it seemed all those words counted for nothing, as yet again the dolphins of the Mekong took another step closer to extinction and being wiped from the face of the earth for good. A dolphin calf that was only 4 days old was found dead, entangled in a fishing net in the Mekong River in Karachi province. And despite all the recent aid that has been lavished upon the dolphin sanctuary, it was yet another devastating blow to this endangered species that balances on a knife's edge of survival. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries said that the dolphin calf was a baby and it weighed just 10 kilograms. The Mekong's Irrawaddy dolphins are being killed off by fishing nets, but they are supposed to be fully protected under Cambodia's fishery laws, as they are ranked as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List, and that is the highest international threat ranking of any endangered species anywhere on this earth. And although the dolphins are considered a living natural treasure of Cambodia, because they are so very rare, they are only found in small numbers living along the Mekong River in Karachi and Stung Treng provinces. They are found nowhere else in the world. There, of course, has been help from the government with the sub-decree making 120 kilometres a sanctuary for these dolphins. But the death toll just keeps on mounting, for it was only on March the 19th another male dolphin was found dead, and yet again experts believed it died for it was caught in illegal fishing nets. But do you want to know how really tragic the death of this 4-month-old baby dolphin is? Well, adult dolphins can only give birth once every 2 years, and they only give birth to one single offspring at a time. So when you know that, I feel that this tragedy of the death of this young infant now only amplifies as to how very miserable this situation is. And it's all very well, for words help formulate policy, but it is action that gets results. And the equation right now could not be any simpler. Get the nets out the water now. Stop the deaths right now. And now it's time to look at our sports news. If it's normally about now you switch off, then please don't, because I have a delightful piece in the weather segment, which is directly after this. So let me plough on with the sports results, and then we're going to see something absolutely mind-blowing. I promise you that. So here we go. Arsenal 3-3 against Southampton. They'll be disappointed because mostly Southampton are rubbish. Crystal Palace 0-0 against Everton. They will be very pleased with that. And the only one other to mention is our adopted team, who got 2 goals. Good Lord, 2. A pair of goals, one could say. But they still lost, which is normal. They went down 3-2 to Liverpool. So, now to the weather. and be prepared to be amazed. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. You want to know why it's so hot? Well, it's that jolly old sun in the sky. And what you can see on your screen is a firestorm. It is literally raining fire. But what I need to do is drop in an image of the Earth, and only then you will realize two things: how enormous the sun is, and how exceedingly insignificant you are. So, in these sweltering heat, and it does feel like it's 40 plus degrees, but it's bordering around 38. We also have humidity reaching into the 60s and 70s. And if this isn't all exciting enough, we have the threat of rain. There's thunderstorms potentially in the very near future. So you've got the whole gamut. But my goodness, it may be hot, but wow, isn't it beautiful? This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.